Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
The Rise Up Morning Show.
What is it? It's the 15th of December.
It is.
We are halfway through the final month of the year.
Shut
and
up. Shut up.
Deep sigh. The deepest of sighs.
Oh, the passage of time.
But as my father would say, in geological time, it's been but a blink.
Yeah, it has. And also happy Bank of Japan week, everybody. Yay.
Yay.
Wait a second. Is this my applause? Nope.
Wait.
Nope. Wait, actually, that's
Wait. Nope. That's
yeah,
right.
No, it's fine.
Tell me why.
That's
I
another
was
fine
looking
one.
for
Yep.
applause, but you know,
Okay.
that sound is
These
actually...
pests.
There it is.
There it is. These pests. What? The heads of the Bank of Japan?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you know.
You're
if
a
you're the head of the
loser.
Bank of Japan and you're watching this, I am sorry. I am maybe a fan of yours. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. I don't really understand completely what's going, but Will's grumpy, and that means I'm grumpy, so...
Well, I mean,
Will,
it's
what-
exciting.
Oh, never mind. Sorry,
mean-
Japan. We're
it's
excited.
just like no one's excited, but
Oh,
like I'm
sorry.
excited because
Wow, I
like
have
it's
whiplash.
cool.
Okay.
This is just gonna go back for it. I'm sorry. No, we're sorry. No, he's excited. Will's excited. I'm excited.
What's
We're all
happening with the Bank of Japan? Will, what's the?
They're
what's the
hiking
thing?
rates, and
Ah.
now everyone knows what's going to happen because
Yes.
of that. So I just won't explain this at all, because everyone knows what that means. So Bank of Japan is hiking rates, going to make it more expensive to borrow the yen, which is an issue because Japan was the place to go to borrow free money for like the entire world for like 15 years. And so it's a pretty big deal in the economic world because now the place where there was free money is no longer free. And that's going to cause like a big swing in markets because it's the end of this like 15, 20 year period of free money. And that will cause some short-term volatility swings, most likely. However, it'll probably be less volatile than people are all talking about in the short term because it's being telegraphed. If you're on Twitter or you're in like really tuned in on like financial, economic, stock-based, crypto-based content on social media, everyone and their mother is talking about it. And it's the most telegraphed, like, big disaster moment, which probably means it's not going to be a big disaster moment because so many people are more prepared and more knowledgeable about this than ever. So the day is going to come, which is, I believe, it's this Thursday or Friday. Because of the time difference between Japan and the United States where we are, it's kind of funky. It's like the 18th to 19th for when the decision gets made. And so the decision will get made, and I bet markets react like a little bit to it, but it's not going to be anything like last year's Bank of Japan rate hike, which, for those of you who don't know, last year's, so August 2024, Bank of Japan increased rates by a little tiny bit, and it caused a massive swing to the downside in markets because it was a surprise, but this is very telegraphed. So the thing is like, it's probably not going to create that big of a drop as people are expecting. But what it does create is it creates, if this figurative ball here is the size of international global liquidity within banking sectors for like economic and financial purposes, after the rate hike, it becomes much smaller, starts getting crunched, right? And that is not an immediate impact. It is slowly felt in markets. And it creates an environment where like, hey, maybe not on the exact day, but like afterwards for the next like few weeks or so, maybe a month or two, that contraction of global liquidity could then be felt in markets, right? You're going to have more of a bearish weight slowly get pressed onto the scales because of that until the Fed, the US Fed's impact can even it. We just lowered rates because of what the Bank of Japan is doing. And they've also started doing quantitative easing by going out and buying mortgage-backed securities and treasuries to the tune of $40 billion a month. They'll be doing that for the next few months. So the Fed is already starting to put their weight on that other side of the scale to counteract that contraction of global liquidity and to try to expand it again. But these are things that don't happen immediately. These things take several months to really kind of go through. So all of that is to say, this bearish event is happening, Thursday or Friday, whatever day it is. It's probably not going to be as bad that day, and everyone's going to be like, oh, see, the Bank of Japan, it wasn't really a big deal. This was all FUD. But then that slow contraction of global liquidity is going to happen, and it will tip that scale to the bearishness before the US Fed can balance it out. That'll take several months, most likely, of this like balancing act. So that's something to be aware of. And the other thing, too, is that on January 15th, this is related to the Bank of Japan, you have Morgan Stanley potentially kicking MicroStrategy out of their indexes, which we care in the crypto space because more MicroStrategy has a lot of Bitcoin. And they've said they might have to sell Bitcoin if the price of their stock goes down and or Bitcoin goes down. And also if it becomes hard for them to go out and borrow money to then buy more Bitcoin. So if the Bank of Japan hikes rates, which they will, that makes it much harder to raise money because, again, global liquidity is being constricted. And then also if they get kicked out by Morgan Stanley, it lowers their stock by quite a bit. And that creates
for sure, or we're just anticipating that would be bad news.
$3 billion to $8 billion of sell-side pressure will hit MicroStrategy stock immediately. Immediately. Because MicroStrategy will be kicked out of any indexes by Morgan Stanley, and there's estimated, depending on who you go to, $3 billion to $8 billion invested through those indexes that will then be forced to sell. So it's immediate sell-side pressure if that happens on the 15th. And now MicroStrategy doesn't have to sell Bitcoin immediately. I've broken down their balance sheet before. They have somewhere between 14 months to 20 months of cash on hand to survive without having to sell their Bitcoin to continue to fund their business operations. So it's not like this happens and it's like, oh my God, MicroStrategy is selling their Bitcoin. But you're going to see everybody and their mother being like, MicroStrategy is going to sell their Bitcoin. I'm like, no, just look at their balance sheet, do a couple very simple addition and subtraction, but that's too difficult for most influencers to do. They also didn't do well in math. So that's why they're influencers. So, hey, not me. I was actually pretty good at math. And AP calculus.
Never even made it that far. Never even had the chance to fail that class.
Never even had the chance to fail it. But yeah, so you're going to see everyone and their mother say hey, MicroStrategy is going to have to sell their Bitcoin. They have well over a year to be able to survive, but it's going to create a more bearish sentiment. And then that's going to probably be, in my personal opinion, the final dip. And then you can probably take the timestamp of when Morgan Stanley kicks MicroStrategy out, if they do, and put it on your chart, and it's probably going to be right at or damn near the exact bottom of the market. I almost guarantee. I think the market bottoms at end of January, beginning of February. We're getting into my speculation, right? Everything else was fact. These are the dominoes from a macroeconomic standpoint of how they fall. That is factual. That's how it would go if it goes like that. It looks like it's going to. My speculation is that end of January, beginning of February marks a bottom. And that'll be your Morgan Stanley kicked out of MicroStrategy, or MicroStrategy selling Bitcoin FUD bottom. News headline, start buying there. You're probably going to be pretty good. Anyway. There you go. Sorry, I got into more than I meant to, but.
No, it's a good update. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, on the speculation side, it's hard to say because, of course, today we got more news that Strategy bought more Bitcoin. A lot.
I mean, here's one thing to think too, is that
$1 billion.
Yeah, that was not too long ago. But which is a sign to you that, hey, MicroStrategy still can raise capital. And so that extra domino, because it was two parts of that equation. The stock and Bitcoin need to go down. And then the other one is they need to not be able to raise money. And they just raised $1 billion to buy more Bitcoin a week ago, 4 days ago. So that second part of the equation hasn't started yet.
Yeah. Between the 8th and yesterday is when I guess it all completed, or at least their last round of purchases.
Yeah. So we're a long way off from MicroStrategy having to sell their Bitcoin, because that 14-month minimum window I gave in my balance sheet breakdown of MicroStrategy isn't even on day one yet. It's not on day one yet. So it's probably not going to be an issue. That, and also Larry, I just think about it like this. Larry Fink loves Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is useful to him because it is the largest supplier of Bitcoin liquidity in the world from a institutional standpoint. And so I just view this as the institutions playing their games so that the people in power have the opportunity to buy lower. Because of the asset that they think is going to be the thing that makes them all the most money in the future. Because otherwise, look at stocks and look at gold and look at silver and look at copper. It's all going up. Bitcoin should be going up. Why is it going down? I personally think it's manipulation from the people who want to be able to buy lower before they absolutely let it rip and send it. And MicroStrategy is going to be an important part of that because it's the largest supplier of Bitcoin liquidity in the world. It's going to be really important for traditional financial products that revolve around Bitcoin. And they don't want to absolutely burn it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my tinfoil hat. You know,
Kind of makes you wonder if they're counting on that, like just getting riskier and riskier. You know, leveraging more and more against this long-term play with Bitcoin for them, just because they feel like they've become too essential.
I mean, I think MicroStrategy knows. I think Michael Saylor knows. I think Michael Saylor has had conversations. I think he's had a couple phone calls with a few of the people that said, hey, we're going to tank the price of Bitcoin. You're going to have one more opportunity to really buy a bunch of it. We're going to say some shit about you. We're going to say some shit about Bitcoin. And then 6 months down the line, we're going to be like, oh, hey, Michael Saylor was a genius, so we'll make you look really good. In the meantime, you get to load up your bags. There's going to be some pressure in the short term, but everything's going to be fine afterwards. And then we all get to make a bunch of money. And then they go, okay, cool. And then they put on their little, you know, costumes to go out and play the play that they wrote the script for. And, you know, there you go. And then they get to go to Mar-a-Lago and play golf with Trump.
I'm so bearish on the way that money works.
Yeah, right?
That's just all so stupid.
I think my favorite quote, though, was from, I was doing office hours with folks in our community, and I think it was Angie, and Angie goes, well, so I have this thought. She's like, she's just a sweet lady. She's really nice. She's like, well, I always just keep thinking, like, if I was really evil, what would I do? And then she just describes like exactly that scenario. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, honestly, she's like, they're really evil, Will. And I'm like, they are. You are correct. And she's like the nicest lady and like the nicest voice. She's so sweet. She's like, these evil people, what would they do? It's like, you're probably like, spot on.
I mean, there's like evil for cruelty's sake. And then there's just like this just cold, just ruthless, you know, like just chomping at the bit to absolutely skewer anybody but themselves. I don't know. It's like kind of sad to watch because so much, I mean, look at how many people are like involved in crypto because they believe in some kind of like, you know, new reset to the financial system, and all they do is just like shill the most corporate crypto projects of all time and then like cheerlead on BlackRock for BlackRocking and everything. It's just like, dude, do you not hear yourself? I don't know. It's so weird to like see someone who, I don't know, like shows up to crypto because of the ethos and then is just like in a suit and loves all of the most corporate projects of all time.
Well, the crypto industry was pretty brainwashed. And I mean, like crypto industry and like everybody in it, like myself included a little bit, rose glasses were on for like, oh, the institute, for the longest time, we are just like, the institutions are coming, guys. And once it does, like, it's going to be great. You know, that was 2017 and onward until, you know, now it's happened. And everybody's like, oh, shit.
I vividly remember. I vividly also remember asking people, can someone please explain to me why we're excited that corporate America is coming to the industry? When has that ever worked out well for anybody?
Just
anyone?
Keep buying Bitcoin.
Bueller?
Just keep buying
Bueller?
Bitcoin. Bueller? Yeah.
I don't know. None of it's a surprise. We're just eroding what the whole purpose was. Because, maybe a little bit more institutional money is going to help. Maybe just a few more politicians getting involved. Maybe just a couple more giant CEOs. That's really going to turn it around for me, for the little guy.
Oh, no, wait. They're just creating things that benefit themselves off of trading fees. Oh, wait. No, they're just investing stuff into stable coins. What about my shitcoin? Oh no, the ETFs are here. That's amazing. Oh wait, no, it ruins altcoin season. Shit, damn it.
It's just like, if it gets hard because you see so much stuff that's just talking about how like as if it's a secret that these cryptos exist and that their prices are just like so suppressed, and so it's time to load your bags and buy all of this stuff because someday the institutions are going to find out that it exists, and then they're going to buy your bags and pump everything to the moon. And it's like, okay, first of all, we have years of documentation to prove that that's bullshit. And second, even if we didn't, I don't know. I have such a hard time squaring the idea that like I could wake up and like find a thing within a few minutes of Googling on the internet and then believe to myself that the biggest, most money-oriented people and companies around the world like haven't heard about it.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, I don't know, man. I have such a hard time understanding how we can continue to like push this idea that no, just keep buying all these like corporate angled cryptos.
But
Which
the
is
Aster
funny.
20022 coins of the future.
No, yeah, for sure. Right. Sorry, I forgot. It's funny. Here's an interesting one. If we're talking about price speculation and, you know, where could prices go and what could impact price to go up, down, or whatever, and then you divide the camp of tokens into two categories to start. Let's say, you know, corporate aligned or DeFi aligned, two different camps. And so on your DeFi side, I'm talking about like your governance tokens, your like DEX specific ones, basically protocol tokens to an open source built protocol that is decentralized, whatever their specific token mechanic is. And then on the other side, you have the ones that are launched by a company and they have some sort of bumper sticker utility and no, like, it's not super integral to the functioning of the ecosystem, whatever it is. I'm talking about like, I don't know, your quants and your XRPs and your stuff like that, like things that have large company affiliation. The companies can have revenue, they can have purpose, they can have product market fit, all that kind of stuff. They have a crypto associated with it versus like Uniswap or something like that. Ethereum, something like that. The things that drive price action are speculation. So in the short term, it kind of seems like the corporate side is the play, because speculation will drive that more aggressively, because there's this belief that like this big company makes so much money. Of course, they're going to share it with the people. I'm pausing for dramatic effect because this is our first break in the armor here. Okay. So there's this speculation that this gigantic multi-gajillion dollar company is going to make a ton of money and then share it with people. Right. And then on the other side, you have kind of these like governance tokens, these DAO tokens, and they're kind of boring and they don't really make that much sense. And like, I don't really want to sit here and like read these lengthy coded proposals and try to vote on a thing and do this, that, whatever. Like, no, that's boring. I don't understand it. I'm not going to touch it. So speculation does not favor those kinds of tokens. And then you have this world wherein the two sides kind of blend a little bit. And you start to see companies who figure out that, okay, these big blockchains exist. Maybe I can put some stuff there. And I'm talking about all of your like traditional finance institutions and you know, entities coming and touching Solana or touching Ethereum or involving themselves with Bitcoin, all this kind of stuff, which can now kind of bleed the vehicles for speculation over into the DeFi side. And now speculation can run over here. Meanwhile, the corporate people are still kind of confused as to why these gajillion dollar companies who are now making even more money still haven't shared any of their profits with all of the people who bought this token that definitely matters. And that feels like the inevitability for me. Like when I sit down and I look at it, that's the inevitability that I see. I see a whole bunch of these corporate chains who built a product that is mostly designed to raise them money. Doesn't really have, like, it technically can be used for this, that, and the other thing, but there's no demand for that. No one who has it is using it to do stuff because they bought it like a stock. They bought it for interest in the overarching company and their revenue. And now we're realizing how much of a disconnect there is between the price of a token affiliated with a corporate entity and a stock of a publicly traded corporate entity. Very different things. And yet we believe that they should work the same way because it kind of seems like maybe they're similar vehicles. I can invest in this, I can invest in that. And so then what happens is you just keep getting this more and more bleed, you know, and every time one of the corporate things gets a new wave of speculation because of some other big business that's jumping in, and now we're going to be able to speculate on this because, oh, well, now there's two giant companies. They're definitely going to share their profits with us. And every single time those get weaker and weaker, because we have a harder and harder time squaring. And whether people admit it or not, they start to like lose faith in the idea that this giant multinational conglomerate is going to give them their money. When they control everything to do it. The entire reason that this technology was written about in the Bitcoin white paper was to get away from this. And then it just feels like inevitably the system that actually works for people, by that I mean like the layer one that supports open sourcing and decentralization, and where people will inevitably have to migrate because they will just get boxed out of the other money system. That's the inevitability. So, I don't know. Every time I hear more about like all of the global manipulation tactics and all of the insider trading and all of these big companies that are all in a room together talking about all of this stuff that they can do to become gajillionaires and get even wealthier, and they all have these cryptos attached to them that, you know, don't really matter, and yet they have the speculation side because they're this big company, and they can stoke the flames of speculative gambling and just inspire more people to feel like, oh well, because this is a bajillion-dollar company that I'm inevitably going to get rich, and it just really truly doesn't work that way. And it sucks that how many people are going to have to find that out painfully by, you know, just getting into bed with like that side of crypto and then not ever selling it and just being rinsed repeatedly for their liquidity and their trading volume.
Oh, tale as old as time in the crypto space.
Right?
It's just a different beast now. Well, that's just like the one thing is like it's interesting, the comparison of conversations between, you have like penny stocks and then you have crypto, right? Because I mean, they're essentially similar markets, right? It's just that crypto's faster. With like penny stocks, everyone knows that you are really investing in like, there's more of a thought that like, oh hey, if this business doesn't get like more revenue than its expenses, or at least getting on new clients, like I'm going to sell this and get rid of it, right? As opposed to just holding it essentially to zero. Way more people hold crypto to zero, because in penny stocks, the conversation is never like, this new company is going to be the new dollar. Like it's going to be the new McDonald's and it's going to overtake it because of this reason and that reason. And like the CEO is from Burger King and he was the CFO before. And like, you know, attach that to a crypto, because like the conversation with the crypto is always like, this will be the next Bitcoin. It's gonna take over Swift. It's gonna, you know which one I'm talking about. It's going to be the new whatever. And then you have this thought process. You have way more people hold the crypto to zero, whereas they would have sold a penny stock way sooner because like, oh, this business is failing. Meanwhile, the altcoin business was failing the entire time, but the price was going up. So you had some sort of potential validation that this is going to be the new thing. And then you hold it down to zero and then you hold it for forever, because you're like, it just has to come back because it has all that potential. It's going to be that thing, so I'll hold it. So you have you have people who take way bigger losses in the crypto space. Also because crypto moves so much faster, most people don't set like a stop loss to automatically trigger and sell. Like you have to be really watching it if you don't do that. And so because it happens so much faster, you blink and the crypto's down 40% all of a sudden. Whereas before the penny stock, maybe your penny stock is down like 20% or whatever. You know, it's just a much faster market. There's much loftier goals announced and believed by a larger amount of people and talked about online, to the point that it creates a much more dangerous environment for new investors. Also, though, way more opportunity to make a ton of money, which is why we love the crypto space. And you can do it quickly, too. Right? It's totally possible. It's just not enough people talk about the emotional side of it, like managing the emotions, managing that FOMO, managing that like unexpected expectation to think that you can only sell if you get like a 20, 50, or 100x, as opposed to selling if you got like 20%.
That's it. That's the one right there.
That's the one.
This is why I refuse to make price predictions with specific numbers, because what happens when anybody in a position of any modicum of authority makes a prediction like that? Someone will stick it in their head and have it be like, oh, okay, well, this person believes it can get to this point, and that would be great. And so I'm not going to sell till it gets there, if it never does, because spoiler alert, they're bullshit. All that does is promote this idea of like holding it for way too long. Cryptos are dog shit investments, overwhelmingly true across the board for almost all of them.
Just look at the video that's pinned on my TikTok. The cryptos are terrible long-term investments. It's been there for like 2 years now.
And all that to say, not to say,
Bitcoin.
again, nuance exists here. And another reason
exactly.
that people get
That's a
fleeced,
broad brush.
another reason that people get fleeced so much is because all of a sudden, so crypto is like a really easy kind of gateway to get into the broader world of global finance, which I will never purport to understand. I think what I know in comparison to what exists to be known is a thimble to an ocean kind of a thing. The difference is that I'm like self-aware of that. And what happens when you're not self-aware or when you just have a product to sell is you can sit here and you can bloviate endlessly about nothing. If Will and I were to just sit here and like dig through the specific news headlines that touch money in any way, shape, or form, first of all, we could talk for hours. And second of all, you could build all sorts of foundations for different conspiracy theories that you can then use to convince people to become bag holders for something that really what you should do is gamble a little bit on. And if you happen to get lucky with it, you should sell it and leave and then do something else.
Mm-hmm. You know, I do. So just this one comment on YouTube, Donnie Connell said like, hey, you guys have become like really negative or bearish. And the thing is we talk about this all the time. It's just that the market is now bearish.
Yeah.
So
it feels worse because now things match.
Because what we say matches like, red candles. But we talk about this all the time, no matter whether the markets are green or red. That doesn't really change. It's just
this has been my personal sentiment for at least the last 3 years.
Oh yeah. It's just that maybe we break up this, kind of talk a little bit more with like some news that happens that's positive. And the thing is any positive news that's happening in this market doesn't get shared because it's a bear market and like the emotions are negative.
I don't think that's true at all.
Oh, I think if you go on crypto Twitter, it's all just like bear. And so like anything that's good doesn't get like exploded everywhere because the price isn't going upwards. So people who are influencers don't share it because it's not getting the views, right?
Sorry,
that's
lost
what
me
I
at
meant.
crypto Twitter.
Sorry, you lost me crypto. That's the thing. Like there are good things going on. Like the thing that I'm really looking at is that vote on Uniswap that's about to go through to take auction fees and start burning that Uni token. That's going to make Uniswap super interesting in the future. I'm really interested in paying attention to this conversation at Aave between DAO members and the business of Aave. For those of you who don't know, there was, I forget the details, but there was revenue that came in from a new product. And instead of going to the DAO, the decentralized autonomous organization that like votes on how to spend that money, it went to the Aave business where the CEO has control of the money. People are like, oh, what's happening here? So this is a conversation where you could view it as like a bearish thing for Aave. I think it opens up the opportunity for there to be a really cool conversation because I think there's an opportunity here for Aave to go, okay, hey, we got to talk about what money goes where. And we need to do something to maybe change this model because, this is negative for the DAO. This is negative from a PR standpoint. And we're not exactly decentralized as maybe people think we are because we have this money going to the centralized business. So I think there's a really cool opportunity there for Aave in particular to maybe restructure things a little bit. Maybe give a little bit more power to the DAO, maybe change the tokenomics a little bit, maybe adopt a little bit more of like the Hyperliquid model, right? There's an interesting conversation to be paying attention there that opens up the door for some bearish things for Aave and some bullish things for Aave too. So like I'm really excited to pay attention to that because there's a cool opportunity there from the leader in the DeFi space. I'm paying attention to that Uniswap vote. I'm paying attention to the adoption of Hyperliquid and Aster because if that adoption remains, those are amazing financial investment opportunities, personally, in my opinion. I'm paying attention to what Pudgy Penguins is doing in the bear market. I'm paying attention to, a bunch of really cool and interesting things in these businesses that are still expanding and still making more money. There's still really exciting things. It's just that none of that gets talked about and shared across the market. And it's harder to find that news source. We still find it, of course, because we're locked in. It's just that you have to dig and sift through it a little bit more. So I just say all that to be like, if it seems like we're super bearish, it seems like it because the market is bearish and there is less news that gets percolated out because also less companies are releasing good news because they're going to keep that good news close to their chest until the markets are green. So it has the biggest impact on them, right? It's about timing. So I just wanted to talk on that a little bit. I actually need to run. I need to leave early, everyone. I apologize, but I have to go do the business. And I gotta make sure these PowerPoint slides are real nice. Yeah, that's right, PowerPoint slides, ladies and gentlemen. Super sexy, super hot. Yeah.
Awful.
Hang on a second. Wait, no. Yeah, there we go.
There it is.
It's been like a year and a half, and I've had this soundboard, and I still don't know where the buttons are. Anyway, guys, I gotta run. I gotta go, but I'll leave you all with Alex to lift you up your spirits.
Yes, that's what I do.
That's what you do.
The uplifting one.
Exactly. All right, I gotta go. Bye, guys.
Godspeed. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback on that to say I am a perma-bear permanently when it comes to the corporate side of crypto because I think it's nonsense. I don't think it if you have these two sides, you have one side that like inherently just works better for everybody, and then you have the corporate side which has one business model, which is extraction and theft through whatever vehicle you want. That is the goal. The goal is to increase margins as much as possible. The goal is to make as much money as possible. Guess what doesn't fit into that equation? Paying people for their services, their data, their money, their whatever. That's the whole point of the DeFi side, which is why I'm happy to talk about how incredibly excited I am about the future of decentralized finance in general. Then there's a whole bunch of other stuff inside of that. It's a very nuanced topic. Obviously, you can get super in the weeds with it, but in general, that's the part that excites me. The part run by protocols, not the one run by companies, which are run by a very small group of people. None of that excites me. I don't, and my problem is I just don't understand why people in crypto get so stoked about it when it's in opposition to everything that we purport to be doing here. So, if I could talk about the things that I'm excited about. And sorry, really quick, we'll reference some Aave stuff. And obviously we've recently seen Aave come over to TikTok and hang out, which is cool. The drama that is unfolding right now is basically that a revenue stream that was previously going to the DAO is now being pushed elsewhere. By that, I mean to the lab. You have two entities, right? You have the DAO and you have Aave Labs. And the drama is basically that this revenue stream was redirected without a DAO vote. And the lab's position is that they didn't need to run a DAO vote because it was their revenue and they had been donating it to the DAO before. And the DAO's position is, well, the only reason that you have that revenue stream is because of something that was built after being funded by and made possible by the DAO. And so it at least deserved a vote. And so it's kind of this clash between lab and DAO, questioning whether or not it makes any sense. So, the Aave token comes into play here. If you hold Aave or if you've invested in it, it comes into question because that token is intended to be a governance token. It's a token that drives the DAO. You vote with it. They're entitled to certain rights. And so now those rights are called into question if a more unilateral decision regarding revenue can be made sans vote. What's the point of the token? That's the conversation. And of course, there's always some drama kicking around, but like this one really kind of took off. In another news, just also on the side of the corporate side, you kind of have these like halfway things where you have, and so I'm talking about Base. It's halfway. You have a giant company, again, right? Coinbase, publicly traded, multinational, worth tons of money. And then you have Base, this blockchain, which purports again to be kind of this like more decentralized product. And yet, as Jesse put on display yesterday when he retweeted that he aped into Soulja Boy's newest scam, which is incredible to me, like that why Jesse is still doing stuff like this. It's just, it makes no sense. Anyway, he did that and he posted a screenshot about doing it, and on there was the base fee for the transaction that he sent, and everyone lost their minds because it's like kind of high. And so, again, it's the question about extraction on behalf of a company using the vehicle that is DeFi to make themselves more money. The whole time kind of purporting to be for the people. So it's a broader conversation. It's a bigger conversation. I know it definitely sounds like that, but honestly, it's just because I feel and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels maybe that it helps more people to hear more conflicting opinions about the downsides of the corporate cryptos, because those are the ones, like, I'm in all the shared spaces. I watch most of the live streams that are happening on crypto TikTok, especially. I hear most of the conversations, and like 99.9% of them are just wildly speculating about the future price of the corporate tokens. And I genuinely worry that people hear that and they think this is the inevitability, that the corporate tokens are going to go up. The inevitability is that the corporations are going to make lots of money from you, because that's what they do. The boring thing, the decentralized thing, the governance thing, the token that facilitates movements on a protocol, that thing is way more inevitable. That thing is way more likely to end up making you some kind of money. And maybe it won't be 100x, but maybe it will be a 2, a 3, a 4 eventually. And there's nothing, that's an incredible return. That's an incredible return to even conceptualize. So I would end my rant about the corporate side of crypto by saying this: if you can look at a token and immediately point to the company, the corporation that has the vested interest in that token making them money, recognizing that the price of it does not have to go up for them to make the money. If you can immediately identify the company associated with the crypto, immediately your hackles should be up. You should immediately assume that this company does not have any of our best interests at heart. And you should immediately assume that that company is singularly focused on making money. Because they are. No one is raising hundreds of millions of dollars from corporate venture capital firms and hedge funds in order to go out and build a thing and then give all the money away to the users who make it possible. They're just not. And these big companies are beholden to the ones who raise them the funds. So just think about that. Please exercise caution with corporate cryptos. If you are holding them and you are fortunate enough to see them increase in price, please consider selling yourself, selling some of them for yourself. Please consider paying yourself back for making that investment. And please don't bag hold it to zero, because spoiler alert, eventually it won't serve a purpose. And guess what happens in company land when something does no longer serves the best interest of the bottom line? It gets axed. We've already seen companies drop cryptos before. They'll do it again. We've seen it on tiny scales. We haven't seen a humongous one fall yet, but that's just because they have so much volume, they make them so much money. Does Monad fall into that that category? Kinda. Yeah, the part about Monad that worries me is not that I think there's anything wrong with it, or that I don't, it's too early to see whether or not they're going to be able to attract any builders or users and keep them for any real amount of time. The part of it that should concern you a little bit is how much money they raised. They raised so much money, and they owe so much money to so many powerful investors. And yeah, XRP 100% falls into the category of crypto with giant company attached to it. What other ones? Hedera, XRP, Quant, all of those things that have like the corporate side, whose purpose and utility is like making something easy for corporations. That's the side. ETH does not have a large company associated with it at all. Neither does Solana. Solana is involved with lots of companies now, which changes the conversation, because that wasn't the way that it was created, but it's the way that it's like moving. Chainlink does not have a large company. This is not like a thing that I'm just like kind of making up on the spot or sharing opinions on. These are just like objective fact. If you take the crypto, go and look and see if a company is running it. So money to be made, but not safe long-term holds. Yeah, that's effectively my stance. Effectively, my stance is that these things can certainly return. Like I said, the whole beginning of my rant about this kind of stuff was that the corporate cryptos have the speculation on their side, because those companies are interesting to look at. They generate crazy headlines. They can say lots of compelling things about the movement of money and the global liquidity and blah, 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 all this stuff they're going to do. And it sounds exciting. And so the speculation can push those token prices harder and faster than the more boring, methodical, like Chainlink is so boring, even though it's one of the most used, even though it has like the most, that you want to talk about utility, it has like the most people using the token for what the token actually facilitates, but it's so boring that it's very hard. What's the headline? Someone else used it. Someone else used it. Someone else, like, even though that is inherently excellent news, that's so good for the protocol. Like, that makes it healthier, that makes it, that makes the validators have an easier time. The validators make more money. The network works better, blah, 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 whatever. It's all good, but it's boring. The exciting thing is that, like, oh, this CEO just had dinner with this CEO and they're planning to do this and that and this. And, oh, there's the potential for this much money in this industry they're trying to disrupt to come into blah, blah, blah. That's exciting. It's exhilarating. And so that's the kind of stuff that drives token prices. So there's nothing wrong with like trading the corporate cryptos, but that's my point. My point is that if you are in those and you see them run, you need to take a very, very serious look at selling some of it, because otherwise you're just up and down and up and down and up and down. And every time it does that, they're making money because these things are getting sold and they have fees and they are, you know, the volume supports their business and blah, 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 whatever. So you just gotta remember that you're not the goal. You are not the priority of the company. The company's priority is making money. You just kind of happen to be there. And honestly, you're enabling it. So just pay yourself if the token goes up. You are the goal in like a decentralized network. You're the goal. It doesn't work without you. And so those things actually have the user in mind, which is why they struggle, because people are kind of struggling right now. And so it's like, it's hard to be excited about it. You know, I get it. But that's where my focus is. That's where my focus is almost exclusively. Like, I could not be less interested in corporate crypto. But I'm so interested in DeFi. And actually this year, more than any other year, I've been using as many different protocols as possible just to kind of get a feel for like which ones suck, which ones charge me too much of a fee, which ones are harder to use, which ones are clunky, which ones have more problems, which ones work really well. Which ones could I see like a really clear path to improving, that kind of stuff. I don't recommend selling anything at a loss. It really depends. At this point, you're starting to get into questions that I really can't answer without knowing a whole lot more about you. You know, if the question is, should I buy this at this price or sell this at that price, or should I take profits here, there, wherever? These are things that like I have a video pinned on my profile that says, you know, is now a good time to buy X? I think that's the thumbnail. And the whole point of that is like, you might come looking for a question to be answered that would be, should I buy or should I sell, whatever. But really that depends on your budget, your personal financial situation. Do you need that money right now? Is this an emergency? Were you over invested to begin with? How much up are you? How much down are you? Is your time frame realistic? Are you just knee-jerk reacting to, you know, things going up and down and you don't really have a plan or a plot? You know, all of these things should cause you, if you can't answer all those questions, then you first of all shouldn't make the decision. But second of all, then that's kind of the gut check that a lot of people need, I think, to sit down, calm down for a minute and like think. Should you sell a crypto at a loss? Well, there's some pros there. We're nearing the end of the year. Selling things at a loss will lock in a loss and you can offset a gain in somewhere else. You could immediately buy back in. There's always the potential that prices continue to fall down even lower and you could re-enter that position at a lower price and then improve your chances. That's not a guarantee, of course. So it's an impossible question to answer without knowing a whole lot more about you. And then even if I knew all those things, there's no possible way that I could advise you in what to do. I'm like just getting to the point where I have like a relatively good understanding of what to do for myself, you know? So I don't know, that's really not what I'm here for. I'm here to hopefully help you think about another side, you know, what I would call the realistic side about large companies and politicians getting super involved in our industry, and inspire, I don't know, maybe a few more people to like think a little bit more deliberately about trying to be more involved in the decentralized side and less in the corporate side. All right, I've been rambling for a hot second, so if you guys just give me 1 sec, I'm gonna just take a quick scroll and make sure I didn't miss any questions. I see the same question entered 7 different times. Am I an XRP? If you couldn't figure out what my stance on that particular token is from my long-winded ramble about corporations getting involved in crypto, then yikes. Yeah, it's, again, we're telling me that such and such a corporate crypto has made money in the past how many years? I know. I just said that like 8 different times. I know. It'll probably do it again. I don't know. That wasn't the point. It makes me sad, like, if you go into that much and like that's the point that we come away with. That, honestly, that is like one of the reasons that it's like harder to win, because there's no ability to recognize the nuance in a conversation. And when you're talking about something as big and gargantuan as money, the money system, and all money around the world, and how all these different companies work together, and all the different things that influence where markets go and do, if you can't recognize the fact that even if you don't understand that it is a very complex and dense topic, you're hosed. I'm sorry. Like, if I take nothing away, just take that it's very complicated. Like I just said several times, I have a very weak grasp and understanding on exactly how all that works and all the different intricacies and the motivations of the ultra powerful and wealthy. I don't know. That's why I just don't involve myself with it. I'm not interested. I'm here because I'm not interested in that, you know? World Liberty Financial 100% is a crypto that has a large company with your interests on the very end of their priorities list. Couldn't give less of a shit about you. Are we in a bear market right now? Yeah. The $1 million question is, how long does it last? Does it last, another week, a month, 2 months, a year? Who knows? Again, sorry. That's just really not my, right now things don't look phenomenal. We have, impending news that is bad. We have a macro picture that's not good. We have the foundations of trust being shaken in large institutions all the time. It's, faith in the government to like do the right thing for its people is waning. So the macro picture is not good. It definitely makes sense that things would be bearish now for a little bit. It's just kind of one of those things that, no one knows for how long, but that's the $1 billion question. Impending news, oh, wow, RPS. Sorry, that really threw me off. That's like a question instead of just an insult. Oh, good. You said it again. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I just mean exactly what Will spent the first, few minutes of the show talking about, the impending Japanese, the Bank of Japan rate hikes. We've got just kind of, the end of the year usually leads to more people selling stuff because of a combination of tax loss harvesting. Cryptos, allows wash trading, so that happens. You've just got like, a bearish economic situation in the United States. The US market drives a lot of the crypto market. You have the potentially impending removal of strategy from Morgan Stanley's index. Like, these are all the impending pieces of news that are not ideal, that could cause prices to be suppressed or go down. Welcome back, RPS. Yes, great to see you. Always so great to see you. All right. So there was a question earlier that I'm going to dwell on here for a second. The question was, okay, so let's say that we accept your ramblings for what they are, and I would like to understand a little bit more about getting involved in DeFi. How do you do that? Is this something where you can put yourself into the DeFi space? You have to tokenize yourself some way, or your business, or what are my options? The world is your oyster, and it's a huge question. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach it. So first, I would say that there's some learning that needs to happen before you actually start like tokenizing stuff, minting things, and doing things, and all that sort of stuff. Here's a good example. A good friend of mine is a photographer, and he's starting a photography business wherein he takes pictures and sells prints. And he was asking me about whether or not he should tokenize them. And I said, that depends. What's the goal of the token? If the goal of because we're talking about NFTs here. If the goal of the NFT is that you give whoever buys a print from you a more secure relationship with that piece of art, more of a guarantee that it's real, that it's authentic, that it's limited. You could do sprint runs of digital things. You've never been able to do that before. That's pretty cool. Then yeah, 100%, absolutely, send it. All that sort of stuff. That's great. As Wall Street says, there's licensing concerns too. If you're only posting your work on large centralized social media platforms, they own specific rights to the stuff that gets posted on their thing. You should read like Meta's terms and services agreement with posted artwork, for example. So you could post elsewhere and you could tokenize them and potentially, skirt some of that, or make it a little bit harder, whatever. There's plenty of reasons. So that would be one example. And that's a pretty easy one. Take a picture, mint an NFT, have it point at the picture that you just took. There you go. You've created a token for a piece of a business potentially, or just something you care about. On the other side, you could take some money. Let's say, so for me, right, I talk all the time, I whine all the time about how little interest my bank account paid me. And so one of the things that I did to fix that was I took that money, I tokenized those dollars by buying a stable coin, and I parked them on, I move it around. Right now it's on DeFi Carrot. Parked it on a decentralized exchange or a decentralized protocol in order to earn more interest. And that was really cool. It was pretty simple, tokenize the dollars, put them somewhere, earn interest. And so I've moved my savings account into the DeFi space. And then from there, you can start staking and restaking and looping this and, earning yield through liquidity providing, which would be like, instead of staking one thing, you could kind of think about it like staking two things, except there's a whole lot of other nuance there. So it's kind of, you can get involved in the DeFi side. I would say the easiest way, the most like minimally involved way would just be purchasing some tokens that run one of these things. So if you're more interested in like the Ethereum ecosystem, you could just buy some Ether. You could do the same thing with Solana. You could do the same thing with any blockchain. And from there, it kind of goes up. Okay, so I own this token now. What can I do with it? I can stake it. Okay, staking is when you lend your crypto back to the network in order to secure it and make it more secure and more strong. And in return, they give you some interest. Or you could provide liquidity with it, which is when you let an exchange of some sort use your money to facilitate trades for other users. And in return, they pay you fees from those trades happening. The platform lets the trade happen. They collect some of the fees. They pay you some of the fees if your money was used. And there you go. That's like allowing you to do a thing that banks do, which is pretty cool. There's also borrowing and lending. You can just take one thing and just like give it to this protocol to use as collateral, and then they will loan it out and pay you the interest that would come in from someone taking a loan. Again, what banks do. So whole bunch of ways to get involved. It's not quite as simple as like tokenizing yourself and, then kind of being in it. You could create a token to represent you, but you got to remember that the relationship between the real thing and the token is only what people believe it to be. So, you saw this a lot with the early days NFT craze, right? Like just because a thing was an NFT, it became valuable in the speculation world just because there was the chant like, oh, well, this thing is so easy to buy and sell. That means it's going to be worth more money. And, we know how that went. So it's a great question. There's one of the reasons that we've started working with a couple of the partners that we're working with, specifically in the DeFi side of things. Shout out Goodnow. Goodnow, Jito, is a DeFi hub for Solana. So that's one of the ways you could get involved over there. If you were to buy some Solana because you believe in that network and think that could be a good investment, or a good trade or whatever, cool. And then you could go and you could stake it. So not only did you buy the asset, but now you can put the asset to work for you. And Goodnow is a place where you can go put the asset Solana to work for you. And then they do other stuff. They contribute to the network. They build stuff. Most recently, their big flagship build thing that they've been talking about is called BAM, which is pretty cool. It basically is a pathing and sequencing update wherein transactions now that flow through Solana go on a predictable path as opposed to just kind of like running all over the place. Weak analogy, but right now, routing for transactions on Solana is not guaranteed. BAM kind of makes it to where it's more predictable. There's a more of a plan. If you want to see, like, visualize what I'm talking about, if you go to the Solana blockchain explorer, any of them, SolScan or whatever, and you just like look at a transaction that came through and then go click into it and expand the details, you can read the path that transaction went on. There's a lot of steps. They go all over the place. And so this is kind of trying to clean that up. So Jito's building that. But you can just go there and stake. You can go there and you can restake. You can provide, you can get access to all sorts of different places. You can provide liquidity. They curate a bunch of vaults with a bunch of other DeFi protocols. It's a cool little headquarters for Solana DeFi. Do you spread around your staking plays? Not really, because I don't really hold very many things. And of the things that I do hold, the only one that I'm staking is Solana. Because I have kind of a two-part position in that one. I have the bag that I swing trade. You know, every time it goes up, I sell some. Every time it goes down, I buy some, and just kind of keep doing that forever. And then I have the chunk that I don't touch, which is being staked, so that I could earn some interest. But that's the only one. In terms of like inside of it, it would not necessarily be a bad idea at all to spread out where you're staking. You know, if you're staking or you're providing liquidity or you're supplying collateral or, you know, any of the different DeFi activities, if you're doing that on a network and you're using like newer protocols that are maybe a little smaller, they don't have a super long track record, you could stake in 2 or 3 different places and it would kind of mitigate a little bit of that risk. But it's up to you. And it depends. You know, this is why it's important to think critically about the protocols you're looking at and, you know, go ask yourself some questions. How long have they been around? How much money are they managing? What's their track record look like as far as, you know, have they been hacked? Have they had any major controversies? Any exploits? Stuff like that. Cinnamon coffee, that sounds good. My personal, you know what my newest favorite is that I would never have even considered, but then one of the little coffee shops around here got some, was roasted pecan coffee. I'd never had that before, but oh my God, it's delicious. I was a hazelnut maxi before that. If I was going to have any kind of flavor to the coffee, it would have to be hazelnut. But the pecan is really good. Wait, so can I make a token based on myself or persona and then trade it? Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. There are several platforms that are making this possible. Base has the ability for creators to make a token to represent themselves. On Avalanche, the Arena, which is like a social media platform built over there, they have the ability to do that. They're not the only ones. A number have. You could also just go to any token minting platform and create your own and go about it that way. But some of these platforms kind of give you a little bit more structure to build it. But yeah, definitely a thing. No guarantee that it's going to, you know, do anything for you. Again, this is why I say the token cannot simply exist. It has to have a purpose. Otherwise, the only method to increasing its value is speculation, and that has a shelf life. Keep getting followers with your same name. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I wish there was literally anything I could do about that. If there was, I would be doing it. But unfortunately, there's nothing that's on the platform. I don't know. You would think that if the platform had like you know, an account that existed, and then a whole bunch of other accounts started spinning up that were using the same profile picture and a name within 2 or 3 characters of the first name, that they could at least flag it for like questioning. But no, that's not the world we live in, because it's more volume on the platform, so they're cool with the bots. But I am very sorry. It's worth noting that I will literally never DM you. I will never reach out to you. I will never send you a message. The only way that I will ever do that or ever contact anyone is to reply in a comment on a public video. If you post a comment on my videos, I will probably reply that way. But I will never send you a private private communication or try to pull you to Telegram or WhatsApp or any of that kind of stuff. I'll never do that. Anyone who looks like me, has a name similar to me, who is trying to do that to you, they are just trying to steal from you. All right. Nick Johnson bought some Sol. Look at you. Look at you. Okay. I'm going to start to wind down a little bit early just because I could use a little bit of extra time this morning to actually film some stuff. I'm a little bit behind the curve, and I have a handful that I would really like to put together and post. Need to do that. We've got a good week, so it's going to be Will and I holding down the fort all week. Evan is taking a much needed break. He's visiting his family in Michigan, and then he will return next week. We have a full week of shows, so the After Dark is going to run as scheduled this Wednesday. We also have the big issue of trust issues, so episode 3 will be Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll have the full panel, so all 4 of us should be there. And then, of course, we have the morning show for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings to finish out the week. Can I tell you more about World Liberty Crypto? Yeah, sure. It is a token that was created by a very centralized and very profit-driven organization, and they are using it to make themselves lots of money and to facilitate behind-the-scenes insider trading deals. They have a deal wherein if you want them to hold your token for the visibility of saying World Liberty holds your token, you can buy $10 million of theirs, and they'll buy $10 million of yours. It's quid pro quo, pay for play. It's a very centralized little thing. They have a token that was released that was only available to accredited investors. That was back before it, went totally public, whatever. It is exactly that. It's there's nothing interesting about it at all. It's a copy pasta. It's a copy paste of a different DeFi protocol that got forked to create this one. Except someone holds all the keys and controls everything, and then they just buy other cryptos and they hold them on their balance sheet, and then they tell everyone that they're going to go up. What headphones? These are just Steel Series. It's a Steel Series. I just don't know. They're actually, I started using them because my other ones just broke, and I was like, oh, okay, these are real comfy. But yeah, that's about all there is to know about World Liberty. Again, it's one of those that easily could increase in price. It could, because it's being driven by a company, and the company wants to make money. And in order to keep people interested in trading it, eventually it has to go up at least a little bit. But my caution would be that if you are purchasing that one and it does go up, then please consider selling some and paying yourself, because you made a good investment and it paid off, and you should take some profits. And yeah, sure. I am going to cry about it when you make money. For sure. User 8672839559933. I will absolutely be doing that. Which is why I just encouraged everyone who does hold it and makes money on it to take profits and realize that, instead of just letting it go back down again. I said that because I want you to fail, and I can't wait to cry about it. And I'm just going to sit here and stay poor. Thank you so much for your thoughts. They're really, really deep and nuanced. I appreciate it. Oh, do I mean it's not going to be the new financial standard? No, it's a vehicle for a small group of people to make a lot of money, because that's what they want to do. If we create our own token, it must have a use. Cannot be for a cause. No, Carol, a cause is 100% a use. That's a great point, because it lets me talk about something else that I think gets misconstrued a lot. Utility is largely a farce. Utility doesn't mean that the token can physically be used to do a bunch of stuff. It mostly has to do with whether or not anyone has an interest in the token being used for any of the stuff. So a good example of one that has legitimate utility would be Ethereum, because anyone who wants to build, launch, maintain, or run anything on that network, they have to use it. There's no way around it. There are plenty of cryptocurrencies that like can do this. You could pay for this with the token. You could pay for that with the token. You can technically stake it and earn interest on it. Like all these things can be true. Those could be misconstrued to be utilitarian, but if there's no interest in it, then it doesn't matter. If you were to create a token to represent something, I believe in your case, you might be referring to like a nonprofit or some sort of awareness campaign. 100%, it could absolutely be used for that. If that awareness campaign or if that nonprofit has people who are interested in supporting it, and they can do that through a token instead of, instead of like through, I don't know, Kickstarter or something like that, sure, then 100%. I'm a big believer in tokenizing things that matter to you, because the token existing for the thing that matters makes it more secure. And so if it matters to you, the token can help protect it. The thing that I warn people against is that creating a token does not mean that it is guaranteed to matter. That's it. I think that's the part that gets misconstrued. So it's not enough to just say like, hey, this token technically has utility. You have to go deeper and ask yourself, does anyone care? Do they have any users? Are they generating any revenue? Is revenue the purpose? Maybe it's a token associated with a DAO that is not generating a profitable product. Unlock has a token that runs their DAO, and their services are free, so they don't really generate revenue. But their token matters because people hold it to vote on how the protocol runs. So there's an example of one that more exists to help support a cause. I also believe that charity, specifically just to echo what Exit Velo says down here, charity greatly benefits. Adding transparency to the routing of money in a nonprofit is a good thing, and blockchain is really, really good for that. That would be a great thing. Do I like syrup? I don't know as much about it. They are certainly inking partnerships recently. They are everywhere these days. Will knows a lot more about them. They initially had quite an interesting rise in TVL in their native token, which is a really, really good sign. That's like actually an indication that someone's using it. I haven't checked super recently. I'd have to ask Will if he's, been keeping up with it or not, but I know that it looked promising, and they have some good yield opportunities over there for stablecoins too. Don't worry, Velo. It's you do your best when you have very limited characters. Dude, user bunch of numbers. I appreciate your open mind. I appreciate you sitting here and listening to someone who might disagree with you. I would ask you that if you find yourself throwing around the whole TDS thing, that you do me a favor, and even if you come away with the same answer, even if you come away not changing your mind, I wouldn't try to force you to change your mind. That would be stupid. But if that's the opinion that you have, I would at least ask, like, okay, well, why could someone hold that opinion? And then is there any way that I could be misinformed? One of the reasons that people get stuck like holding a bag for a really, really long time, even when it like hasn't paid them anything in a very long time, and you're still there thinking like, oh no, it's definitely going to be the thing, and you've kind of adopted this like maximalist attitude about it, and you refuse to accept any sort of downside. There's no possible way that you could have any like bad opinion about this and be right. In that instance, you're the problem, not the person disagreeing with you. Maximalism can lead people to be blinded to something that you should be concerned about. If you have an investment and some potentially bad news comes out about the investment, you should at least consider that, like, okay, well, maybe I should think about that, because you're invested in it, instead of just like blindly believing that nothing bad could ever happen with this thing that I'm obsessed with. Because that's cult behavior. If you can't accept here's a great example. I'll put myself on the chopping block for this. I'm a huge Aave fan. I'm concerned and like kind of upset about this drama between the DAO and the lab. It's like a big bummer. It kind of changes my opinion about it. It's the biggest. So Aave is the biggest DeFi protocol on the planet. I don't know enough to have like a concrete opinion, but this is like what I'm currently reading on. I would really love to talk to them about it and try to understand the thinking. You know, maybe the DAO is off base with the criticism, or maybe the lab is a little jaded. You know, it's hard to say, but it's at least worth considering. Okay, sure. Yeah, I guess it's gonna lose me money. If critical thinking loses me money and followers, then I can live with myself. I will sleep at night. It's called growing. Jesus Christ. All right. Well, good. Godspeed to you. There's a few things that I have a few things that are deal breakers, and when those things happen, then it really doesn't matter if anything else, you know, is fine and good. There's some things I just can't get past. Sorry. Are syrup and maple the same thing? It's funny to say with both of the names. Yes, syrup is the token, maple finance is the project. Zbeck is a great example of a crypto that has like a purpose, but it's also more kind of attached to a business. And I just think they're going to get outcompeted. If you're interested in Zbeck, I would ask you to look up a project called Sablier, 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 and take a poke around that, because it's like if Zbeck had like adoption and a bunch of users. Although Zbeck, there's another good point for Zbeck. They raised a ton of money, so that's another could be good. They have a lot more resources to do cool stuff, but they raised a lot of money and they're beholden to a lot of investors. Coinbase Ventures, Solana Ventures, a lot of big VCs raised money for them, or I should say contributed money to them during their raise. Do you feel there's an AI bubble? I genuinely couldn't tell you. That's not really my world. I think that, I don't know. If I was to like share any of my, I guess, guesswork or speculation on it, it kind of feels like sort of, you know, the hype and froth is definitely there, but also like AI is a pretty earth-shattering advancement or change to a lot of industries. It's extremely disruptive, so it's hard to say. You know, just because something could be bubble-like, you know, does not necessarily mean it's bad. I think there's a lot of concerns about AI stuff. I think I wish that we were spending more time trying to like understand the ramifications of it. But bubble, I mean, what does that mean? Effectively, what does that mean? Is NVIDIA overvalued? Maybe. Who knows? I don't really have a favorite AI crypto project, though. I confess I'm really not interested in AI crypto. I think that AI needs blockchain to like verify reality and help discern real from fake. I think that's a perfect use case for blockchain, but the AIs themselves, none of them that are using a crypto really need it. And so there's a lot of instances therein where a project that is AI focused is using a crypto to raise money. And I'm just not interested in that, because in that case, then the liquidity, the yield for them comes from me, and I don't want to provide that for them. That's not what I'm here for. I would just donate to a company if that's what I wanted to do. AI companies, like, I would much rather hold a stock than buy a crypto associated with them, just because I don't think it matters. Chainlink and Ondo. Ondo is definitely more company oriented. They are like a, you know, B2B service provider for companies that want to put stuff on chain. But Chainlink is a data services provider, not a corporate crypto. Corporations can use them, but like they don't have a company. What about Aster? I'm really not read into Aster or Wasabi. Being in a cult is blinding. It is very blinding. Yep, confirmation bias is real. If you have a very strong opinion and your mind is not really open to learning new things or possibly being wrong, you can very easily go reinforce your opinion by finding information that supports it. Health is a great example of that. Outside of crypto, right? Like if you believe that your diet is the best diet and you go Google why is diet X the best diet, you'll find some reason why it is, even if it isn't. So that's confirmation bias. We have it in crypto all the time. What about Algo? Algorand is cool. network where you can go do stuff and do things, and they're boring as hell. And you know, in the boring side, what I want to see from groups like that is I want to see more of an effort to highlight the things being done in the ecosystem. It's like really hard for, you know, if you're a blockchain, I kind of believe you have two jobs. I think you have to attract builders and help them build stuff and give them incentives to make things. And then I think that you have to help those builders amplify their product, whatever they're making. And invite users to come in and try things and incentivize users to come in and use stuff. Canton did a whole thing about Canton. I don't have any other additional thoughts on it. It's not super interesting to me. It feels like they have some stuff going for them right now, so I'm kind of waiting to see if those stay, if the people doing work in and around that thing persist. But it's too early for me to have an opinion. I'm not doing anything with it right now. WorldCoin, we've talked about it a lot in the past. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It sketches me out a little bit. I'm not overly interested in it. I don't hold any of it. I have no plans to hold any of it. I really am not even interested in like following it or like reading more about it. I feel like that whole thing just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. I'm very singularly focused on DeFi and using it to improve people's financial situations, not by giving them a gamble that's more likely to pay off, but by teaching people how to use different vehicles to make their money work for them instead of like just gambling and hoping for the best. I think you can certainly come to crypto with some money and gamble and hope for the best. But I think if that's the only way that you're here, you're destined for failure because gambling doesn't work out all the time. A majority of the time it doesn't work out, in fact. And it's much more reliable to like figure out a way where you can take your money and secure it and just earn 100 times more interest than your bank would ever pay you and help build a little bit more independence that way. Like that's the part that I'm interested in. That's the part of crypto that like really gets me up in the morning. Great questions, everyone. I really appreciate everyone hanging out. We are going to be back first thing tomorrow morning with Will. 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. Central for another episode of the morning show. And then, like I said, Wednesday, we've got 3 shows. We'll have the morning show, we'll have Trust Issues, and we'll have After Dark, and then we'll close out the week on Thursday. Thank you to all of our wonderful partners and sponsors of the show, Jito, Polygon, Unlock Protocol, and Arculus, the official cold wallet sponsor of the Rise Up Morning Show. I'm going to be in and around the Circle today. So again, shout out to our free to join Circle community, community.rumshq.com. If you have any lingering questions and you would like to hang out and chit chat, ask me, ask the people, jump into the Circle. Like I said, it's totally free to join. There's stuff you can pay for, but to get started and ask questions and hang out and meet everybody, it's completely free and always will be. And then, like I said, feel free to ask any questions there if you have any lingering thoughts. It's easier there to go into a little more detail. We have longer character limits, and so you want to learn more about getting involved in DeFi or staking or liquidity providing, earning yield, all that sort of stuff. That is the best place to do it. It was wonderful to see all of you. It was wonderful to spend the morning with you, and I'll be back tomorrow.